here we are for another Fellow Creatures Trainer Spotlight interview. And I'm so excited today because my special guest is a fellow cat trainer. Why don't you go ahead and jump right in, introduce yourself, tell us your name, your pronouns, and your personal pets.
Yeah, well, I'm Emily with KittyCatGO. My pronouns are she, her. We have six cats right now.
What are all their names?
We've got Delilah and Sophie, Kylo Ren, Radagast, oh, we call him Ratty for short. Nimbus is our newest one. He's about 8 months old. And who am I missing? Griffin. Griffin.
What are their age ranges?
And Delilah's our oldest. She just turned 14 about a month ago. And then Nimbus is our youngest. He's 8 months.
Nice. Does Delilah still enjoy adventures in her own way?
Yeah, so Delilah, she loves clicker training. So she still actively trains with me pretty regularly. And she has never been a big adventurer like with outdoor stuff. She will go out in the backyard on our harness and leash, but that's about as far as she is happy going. So.
Yeah, they all have their own speed, right? So tell us a little bit about what kind of work you do with Kitty Cat Go and how you got started.
I started Kitty Cat Go in 2020, actually, one of the many projects born out of COVID.
Hmm.
And my focus has always been harness and leash training, adventuring with cats. And now I do a little bit more inclusive of like cat enrichment in general and harness and leash training and outdoor adventures as like a piece of that puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I started it because I've been taking my cats out on a harness and leash for about 10 years, a little longer than 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more resources out there today. But back then, and even in 2020, when I started Kitty Cat Go, there was not much out there. I just realized that that needed to change.
Mm-hmm.
There needed to be some resources to guide people and encourage them and let them know that, yeah, taking your cat out on a harness and leash is a thing. You can do it, and here's how. So Kitty Cat Go was born.
That is so cool. So the topic of enrichment comes up, and you said harness and leash training is one part of that, but let's define what is enrichment and why is it important?
Yeah, so cat enrichment is providing a stimulating environment for your cat to fulfill all of their mental and physical needs and keep them engaged and allow them to act on all of those natural instincts that they have. It's just such a vital piece of sharing our home with cats, especially if your cats are indoors. I am definitely a proponent for keeping your cat indoors and not letting them free roam outdoors for
Mm-hmm.
safety reasons. But let's be honest, when you're stuck inside the same, walls all day long, it's not a very exciting life. And so
Mm-hmm.
enrichment, there's so many different types and ways you can enrich your cat's life, but it's important to keep them engaged and happy and healthy and living their best life. Indoor cats today, I know like obesity is a common problem and destructive behaviors, problem behaviors are
Mm-hmm.
common for cats. I mean, of course, there are medical reasons that those things could be happening, but I think a lot of times they're behavioral because the cat's needs aren't being met. And so, they're bored. They lay around and sleep all day. And yeah, cats do sleep a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They also need to be stimulated and have physical exercise and mental exercise and everything just like we do. And
Yeah.
I think people underestimate that need for cats. Dogs, it's normal. People take their dogs for walks all the time and play games with them and everything. And it's like, well, why
Mm-hmm.
why do we think that cats don't need that too?
Mm-hmm.
Enrichment is important for the relationship and bond that we share with our cats too. I think
Yeah.
we get out of it what we put into it. People are like, "Oh, cats are aloof. They are so independent. They do their own thing." And yeah, they are more independent pet, but they're going to be more aloof and not care that much about you if you're not taking the time to
Mm-hmm.
invest in them. If you take the time, provide for their needs, play with them, engage with them, then they're going to want to be with you. They're going to,
Yeah.
you're going to build that bond in that relationship. So I think enrichment is just important for all of the things, physical wellness,
Yeah.
mental wellness, bond building, all of that. A lot of times when people are, they hear about, oh, enrichment, oh, I'm busy, I don't have time. It's hard to carve out the time to do that with my cat. I mean, like you said, just a few minutes a day,
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes while you're sipping your morning coffee, get out a toy or do a little clicker training session while the your water's boiling and you're making
Exactly.
pasta. I mean, there's
Yes.
so little easy ways to fit in
Mm-hmm.
some enrichment with your cat that are don't even require much effort or time on your part, but they can go such a long way for your cat's well-being.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Indoor only cats, of course, they're going to have the advantage of being safer, but what are some of the things that indoor cats miss out on?
The excitement and the like new experiences of the outside. So when I think of enrichment, I think of there being like five main types. There's physical enrichment, mental enrichment, social enrichment, environmental enrichment, and I'm drawing a blank on what my fifth one is. But there are ways you can meet each of those different types of enrichment, provide those for your cat, but the outside kind of does it all. It's like all inclusive, right? You can go outside for a walk and it's physical enrichment. Being outside in a new environment and seeing all the new sights and smells is mental and environmental enrichment.
Hmm.
You're engaging in an activity together with your cat, so it's social enrichment. You're kind of like
Yeah.
checking all the boxes in one
Hmm.
activity. And I mean, so much too can be said for fresh air and the feeling
Yeah.
of grass under the paws. That's so beneficial for us too, right?
Hmm.
It's like, oh, you're especially if you work from home. It's easy to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired of staring at this computer screen and the same walls over and over. I need to just go outside and
Hmm.
breathe some fresh air and touch some grass.
Yes. Yeah,
And our
absolutely.
cats need that too.
Hmm. I'm wondering if your fifth category was either sensory or food
Yes,
enrichment.
thank you.
Okay.
Sensory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So we were talking about how the outdoors ticks a lot of those boxes, and so it's really valuable to give our cats outdoor access. What are some ways we can do that, give cats outdoor access without compromising safety?
Yeah, so as I mentioned at the beginning, I am a big proponent of harness and leash training. It's a really great way to give your cat exposure to the outside, but in a safe and controlled way,
Mhm.
and you can, enjoy the activity together. But I also understand that maybe not everybody's able to harness and leash train their cat because it does take training. It's not just
Hmm.
something that you throw a harness on and go out.
As much as people try.
Yes, that usually does not end very
Mm-mm,
well.
mm-mm.
So, maybe some people aren't able, or in the meantime, while they're working on their harness training and working towards that, there are some other more accessible ways that you can give your cat or access, like a catio, for example.
Yeah.
We built a catio on our house during the COVID quarantine days.
Hmm.
That is one of the best things we've ever done. It's not very
Same.
big, it's not very fancy, but it's enough that we can open the window, the cats can go out and they can hang outside and watch the birds. We put a bird
Mm.
feeder nearby, so they get some good action on the cat TV. I mean, they love it. And so that's one way. And they have so many, like we built ours, but
Hmm.
there's so many pre-made ones from small to large. Stroller rides or backpack rides are another option if your cat is comfortable with that. And then also there are lots of mesh tents and outdoor enclosures that you can put out in your
Hmm.
yard that you can put your cat in and they can just chill and hang out and sort of like a catio. But yeah, I think those are all good options for giving your
Hmm.
cat outdoor exposure, but in that safe
In a
control.
way that's safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a few of my friends and colleagues who have the like the cat fencing at the top of their yard that like
Yeah.
angles in that's supposed to be. Obviously, you still wouldn't leave your cat out there unsupervised, and you wouldn't leave them out there overnight because it would not be safe.
Yeah, I know a couple of people who have done that too, and I think that's really cool.
And I think obviously it depends on your cat, right? Because some cats, different setups would be perfectly safe for them, whereas other cats are escape artists and might find ways to get themselves into trouble. So you really got
Right.
to know your cat and what's going to work for them.
Yeah, and I think too probably your like where you live is going to have
Mm,
some effect too. Like if you're in a
huge,
more
yes.
urban area where there's lots of hustle and bustle around it, you know, putting your cat out in a fenced area might be a little overstimulating, but they might feel more
Mm-hmm,
comfortable in a
mm-hmm,
enclosure or a
mm-hmm.
patio or something.
Yeah, so true. In the area I live in, we have a decent amount of suburban coyotes that wander
Mm,
around because there's forests throughout Portland. So coyotes will just kind of come through people's yard spaces and they're
yeah.
pretty bold and resourceful and they will definitely take out a cat if given the opportunity. So it's
Yeah.
really important to be aware of where you are as well and how you can mindfully create safe outdoor access for your pets.
Yeah, for sure. And even with the fenced in enclosures, there's like the birds of prey, right? A
Hmm.
fenced in is not going to keep out a
An
hawk
owl or
or
yeah,
something. Yeah. So
yeah.
that's why, like you said, even if you have an area like that, you don't want to let them out unsupervised because,
Hmm. Would not
things
be
can still
safe.
happen.
Yeah, would not be safe. So that kind of ties in really well to my next question of what are some ways that adventure can look different for every cat in each situation?
Yeah. So I think a lot of times when people hear the term adventure cat, they're picturing the cats out on the hiking trails and
Hmm.
going canoeing and
Hmm.
camping and all of these like really big things. And adventuring absolutely can be that. We have two cats who love going hiking. They've been camping. We've taken them canoeing and kayaking and all of that. And I mean, they thrive in that environment. They love it and have the best time. But we have six cats, and like I said, only two of them
Hmm.
enjoy that. Delilah, our oldest, that we were talking about earlier, backyard.
Hmm.
That's as far as she wants to go. Ratty, my scared shy one that I talked about, he loves the catio. I've tried putting a harness and leash on him, and he'll wear his harness. I've harness trained him, but going outside is just a little too much for him.
Hmm. Hmm.
It overstimulates him. He gets too scared, and it's just not a healthy experience for him. But he
Hmm.
loves the catio. He would, and nighttime is his favorite time to go out on the catio.
Mm.
I think if I would let him, he would sleep out there.
Yeah,
um,
probably.
yeah, so I think your cat's personality and what they're comfortable with and their preferences play a
Hmm.
big part on the types of adventures. So, maybe your cat is not going to be a hiker or a camper, and that's okay because
Right.
no matter what level they're comfortable with and no matter what types of adventures you guys go on, it's valuable and it's
Hmm.
enriching their
Hmm.
life. And then actually there are even cats who like to go to the pet store
Hmm.
and like more peoply
Yep.
adventures, whereas some cats would be like, mm-mm.
Right, exactly. No, that's very true. There's different types of adventures, just like with people, right? There's some people that would, go to a new local restaurant with you and check it out, or go to a concert with you. And then there's other people who are going to want to go camping and kayaking and, mountain biking. And some people like all of those things. And some people are like, no, let's stay home. And their idea of adventure might just be to sit out on a bench and watch the birds in their backyard, and that is completely valid.
Yeah.
So why would it be any different for cats?
Yeah, so I think don't sell your cat's adventure experience short. If
Hmm.
all they want to do is go sit on your back porch for a few minutes a day, then go for it. That's perfect. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. I imagine that could be a little hard if you had someone who was looking to adopt a new cat, and they had specific expectations of what they wanted that relationship to look like. Because there is no guarantee when you meet a cat, even if they're in a foster home, you can't always get a full sense of their personality and how they're going to fit into your family's lifestyle. So you're not going to know when you meet this cat whether they're going to be an adventure cat that wants to hike or an adventure cat that likes to go in the catio. So, what are some of the things that people could look for to help them know that either a new cat they're interested in or a cat that they have established in their home would probably enjoy some form of outdoor adventures versus what are the signs that this cat's idea of adventure is going to be more along the lines of looking out the window or sitting in the catio? What do you look for?
Yeah, so I think there are really kind of six main personality traits that you can look for
Okay.
that will lend themselves more towards a cat who's going to enjoy adventures. Like you said, nothing's a guarantee. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
might have the most outgoing cat and then they're, not interested in doing all of the things. But generally, I think if your cat is pretty social and comfortable around people
Mm-hmm.
and friendly, then that's a pretty good sign because even if you only go to in the backyard, you might have a neighbor. And if your neighbor comes out in their backyard, is that going to spook your cat or are they going
Mm-hmm.
to not be bothered by the presence of another person?
Mm-hmm.
So I think social ability is one personality trait that can be a good indicator.
Mm-hmm.
If your cat's easily handled, because harness training requires you to, touch your cat, put the harness on them. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
out somewhere, even in your backyard, you're going to have to pick up your cat at some point and, either take them back
Mm-hmm.
inside or, whatever. And if your cat is comfortable being touched and picked up and handled, it's going to make the experience
Lots easier.
easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then confidence is a big one. So,
Mm-hmm.
like Ratty, my fearful cat, he's not very confident. He's very
Mm-hmm.
easily spooked. If somebody has rung the doorbell or knocked on the door at any point during the day, I'm probably not going to see him for a few hours,
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So-
that sounds familiar. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
We have one like that.
Yeah. But Nimbus, our newest cat, I mean, he is like, if someone's at the door, he's like, who's there? I want to,
Mm.
if new sounds, anything doesn't spook him. So confidence and I think like their curiosity level
Mm-hmm.
plays a big part.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're food motivated, that helps a lot with training and
Definitely
introducing them into new situations.
makes it easier.
Yeah, for sure. And then their energy level.
Mm.
Like a high energy Bengal cat is probably going to be more into hiking down the trail than a cat who's like, I'm happier just to kind of sit and watch the birds.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's not a perfect equation, right? And you don't need all of those things. Your cat might check four out of those six boxes and still make a great adventure cat.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe right now they only check two of the boxes, but you can do training and build confidence. You can,
Yeah.
do training and get them comfortable with you picking them up and handling. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's like one one size fits all answer, it depends on so many things.
You need to get to know each individual and see how those factors come together. There's a lot of it that you can influence through training. If you get the kitty young enough, you can help make sure that they have a lot of positive experiences with people to build that sociability.
Yeah,
If you're not careful about that, you can overwhelm them and make them more scared. So that does need to be done with
definitely.
conscious awareness and care. But
Mhm.
there are always going to be some of those genetic factors that we can't necessarily know or change or influence, like whether a cat just has a tendency to react to new situations with curiosity or a tendency to react to new situations with caution. Have you seen
Yeah.
any examples of that with your cats? Ones that have like a naturally curious disposition and ones that are naturally more cautious?
Yeah, so Nimbus, our newest, he's definitely naturally curious. And we've had a lot of cats, and I would say I've never had one as confident and just like naturally curious about everything as he is. So it's
Wow,
kind of a first for me. Like,
that'll be fun.
yes, it's been really fun. Like I've had to train him to be comfortable with his harness, but as far as the rest of it, like he hasn't required much training. I've taken him
Mm,
to Hobby Lobby and Tractor Supply, and he's just trotting down the aisles in the store and like
that's
he's waving to all
adorable.
the people like, "Hey, what's
Oh,
up? Hey, what's up?"
that's so
And
cute.
I didn't have to do anything, he
Mm-hmm.
just is naturally that way.
That's so
Um,
cool.
but then one of our other cats, Kylo Ren, he's will turn 10 in February. He loves hiking, but he does not like going places where there's people. And
Mm,
he's definitely a lot more cautious about strangers and new environments. And so I don't take him to
yeah.
stores and things like that. But he has with time, like it used to be if we were out on a hiking trail and we passed another person, he would be want to be in his backpack for the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, all right, I'm done. That was too much. But
Mm-hmm.
now he's gotten to where he'll step off trail and watch the person, walk by, and then he's like, okay, I'm ready to go now.
Hey, good for him.
So he didn't start off that way. So you've kind
Mm-hmm.
of got two different sides of the spectrum there. Nimbus, who's like, hey, what's up? Let's be best friends. And Kylo, who's like, I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
about you, but I'll let you walk by.
Right, yeah. And so for those more cautious kitties, then it takes more effort on our part to do some careful desensitization because oftentimes feeling safe in our environment is not the kind of thing that generalizes well. Is that what you
Yeah.
find also? Because like just because you've had one good experience with a stranger, for example, does not mean all strange humans are okay.
Yes.
And just because you've had one positive experience with a dog that didn't threaten you does not mean all dogs are okay. So, like, positive experiences really don't generalize well. But on the other hand, I find that negatives do because of our like survival instincts, negativity bias, and all that. So, like, you have one bad experience with a dog, all dogs are scary.
Yeah.
One bad experience with a stranger, all strangers are scary. And so that can give us an extra layer of challenge when we're working with those really cautious kitties. And we have to be super patient and think about, like, well, is it going to be worthwhile to desensitize to this particular thing or this type of experience? Or is it going to be less stressful if I just say, oh, this type of thing is not necessarily for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you give some examples of things where you decided where this isn't for you versus situations where you decided like this is actually an important resilience skill and you need this. Here's how I'm thoughtfully going to train this.
Yeah. So with Kylo, when I first started taking him out on adventures, it was clear from the beginning that he was not super comfortable with strangers. But I thought, well, maybe with some desensitization, I can get him I can get him there. And so I would take him to restaurants and the pet stores and try to create positive experiences and things like that. And he did get like maybe a little more, he made some progress. He got a little bit more comfortable with it, but he never got to the point where he like thrived or
Mm,
loved it. And
hmm
so I eventually decided, you're telling me that you don't like this, and
hmm
I'm listening. So
Yeah,
I don't take him into those situations anymore.
that's
But
great.
I do think he loves hiking. I mean, he will hike down a trail for a while. I mean, he's in his element. And unfortunately, I can never guarantee that we're never going to run into another person.
Hmm
So for him to be able to enjoy an activity that he loves, I had to get him to the point where he would at least be comfortable with a person passing us on the trail.
Yeah,
So I did do some work with him on that, some desensitization training and things like that. And he has overcome that obstacle. So I think he's a really great example of how
yes.
he's not going to be okay at the pet store or at a restaurant
Hmm
or a place where there's a lot of people and commotion, but he is okay and loves the hiking trail. And there was that one element of it that we had to overcome to make it the most positive experience possible,
Yeah.
and he did.
You can't control whether there's going to be people on the trail, but I bet you were able to control some of that during the training process. Like you probably didn't just take him out onto a trail, expose him to a bunch of random strangers, and say like, you're going to get used to this. You probably
No.
did it a little bit more thoughtfully. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I purposely choose trails that are not as high traffic. I'm not going to take him to the park that has the paved walking trails where I know like it's the most popular park in town. There's always a lot of people, always a lot of dogs. That's not where I'm going to take him. I'm going to take him to the wooded trail that's like kind of off the beaten path. Not a lot of people know about it. And
Mm-hmm.
we can enjoy some nice quiet time. And the chances of us running into another person are a lot lower. And I'm
Yeah.
also going during times and days of the week where there's going to be less people. If I go on a
Yeah.
weekday during the workday, I'm probably not going to run into many people, right? But if I go on a
Mm-hmm.
Saturday afternoon when the weather is nice and beautiful, then
Bunch of people, bunch of dogs, all the things.
yes, you can set yourself up for success in that
Mm-hmm.
way by strategically planning location and time of day.
Yeah.
And then by controlling those elements, I can not guarantee, but at least know that the chances are lower we're going to run
Mm-hmm.
into somebody. But then
Yeah.
when we do run into somebody, I can make that experience as positive as possible. I can step off
Yeah.
the trail with Kylo. I have his favorite squeezy churu treat. And when the person is passing, I'm petting him, giving him treat, and, trying to reassure him everything's okay. I've got his backpack so he can retreat inside his backpack
Yeah.
for safety if he wants to. And then when the person passes, he can choose. Does he want to come
Mm-hmm.
out of his backpack or does he want to stay inside, and kind of build and go from there.
That's a great way to do it. Did you end up calling up any of your friends while you were doing that training and being like, hey, could you stand down the trail like this many feet?
I haven't done that, but that's not a bad idea.
Because then you could control how much they approach, right? You could be like,
Yeah.
if he does this, you take a step back, or if he does this, then you can approach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
definitely.
true. I have invited friends to just come with us on a hike.
Hmm.
So then, I mean, it's usually people that he still has met before, but it's a different environment, and having another person present, I think helps too.
Mm-hmm. I see a lot of people just put a harness on their cat, and then the cat just like flops down on the floor, and people think it's funny, and they try to share all these videos, and they're like, ha ha ha, isn't this cute? But we as professionals can tell that those cats are overwhelmed, they're stressed, and when people try that and their cat doesn't immediately accept the harness, then they give up on harness training their cat.
Yeah.
What tips can you give us on how we can do better?
Yeah, oh my gosh, Misty, if I had a penny for every time someone has said to me, "Oh, I put a harness on my cat once and it didn't work." I'm like, "Okay, well, there's so much wrong with that sentence." First of all, putting the harness on your cat is definitely not the first step of the training process.
Not even
And
close.
no, I mean, that's like step four, so many more steps before that. And people just expect, oh, I'm going to put this harness on my cat, it's going to be okay. But like, if you think about it from a human perspective, if you had never worn clothes before and you put on a shirt for the first time, you would probably be like, ooh, this is weird, it's not gonna be comfortable. So yeah, you're gonna be like squirmy and weird. So cats, I think the first step is introducing the harness, but like laying it on the floor, not putting it on.
Hmm.
So I always start by that. Pick out the harness, put it on the floor, get out your cat's favorite toy, have a play session with the harness, and if they approach the harness and sniff at it and are curious about it, then reward that. If you do
Yeah.
clicker training with your cat, you can click and reward every time that they express an interest in the harness. Put some catnip on it, throw some
Mm.
treats, just do anything that you can to get your cat to associate the harness with positive things
Yeah.
without it even touching them or going on them. That's step one, and
Hmm.
that could take some time.
Hmm.
I think too, people rush through or expect, oh, I'm going to harness train my cat in like, a few days. And sure, maybe there are cats who might fly through the training and not need that much time, but some cats might take days, weeks,
Weeks.
months,
Yeah. Hmm.
to harness train, and you just have to watch their body language, know their signs for when they're stressed or overwhelmed,
Hmm.
and go at their speed. Because if you force it or try to rush the process, you're going to do more harm than good.
Hmm.
You're never going to reach that finish line.
Yeah. It's gonna set you back so much more,
Yeah,
for
slow
sure.
and steady wins the race.
Definitely. I find a lot of times we try to put all the pieces together a little bit too quickly. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're okay with the harness, so the next step is the leash." And then they add the leash onto the harness. but they might need to get used to the leash separately and learn that the leash is a neutral object, not a plaything. And the
Yeah.
sound of the harness or the vest, whatever, closing, if it's Velcro, that's a separate sound they need to get used to and not experience it for the first time when it's around their neck and their belly.
Yeah.
So separately being like, Velcro noise, treat, buckle
Hmm.
noise, treat. And then eventually working up to putting all those pieces together. We have to really be attentive to their body language so we're not overwhelming them.
That's like why, as you said, having a professional to help is so important. And
So valuable.
when I have a harness and leash training course, and it does have, a 7 steps for harness training. But like you said, there might be a step 2.5 or whatever. And so an aspect of that course is that people can ask questions. They can send me videos of their cat's training and get
Yes.
personalized help because every cat is different. And one cat might not need the steps that I included. They might just need a couple of them. Some
Mm-hmm.
might need 10 times as many steps as, and so you do, if you don't know about cat behavior and cat training, then having a professional help you
Mm-hmm.
break down the steps and figure out what's going to work is
Yeah.
important.
There's obviously different styles of harnesses, and some probably make the training easier than others, and some are probably better for cats or safer. So, what are your general thoughts on equipment, harnesses, strollers, cat backpacks? My general stance is that any kind of equipment that's going to give the cat A, safety and B, more freedom of choice is
Mhm.
ideal. So like some of those backpacks that are just like the plastic space bubble,
Yeah.
I don't love that. Yeah, yeah. So, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. So when it comes to a harness, unfortunately, like we were saying earlier, I do not think that there's a one size fits all answer for that. Because even with my own cats, I have one cat that uses this harness, one cat that
Mm,
uses this harness, because they have their different preferences and what they're comfortable wearing and what works best for them. I have found generally that the types of harnesses that you have to put over your cat's head are a lot harder to train because
mm-hmm,
cats don't like their ears and things to be messed with. So I recommend starting with a harness that has a separate clasp for the neck collar piece and
mm-hmm.
a separate clasp for the body. So that way you're not having to slide anything over your cat's head.
Set yourself up
Um,
for success.
yes, yeah. Now I'm not saying the over the head harnesses can't ever be used. I mean, you can do some training with those, but they're typically harder. The harnesses that have more coverage, like the vest and jacket style harnesses, while I do think those are generally a safe and secure choice, they can be harder to train with at the beginning because
Mm,
they are so big. Like this kind of harness,
mm-hmm.
it's got a lot of coverage. I
Yeah.
love this harness, but it's going across their entire back. And that can be a lot in the beginning.
Mm,
So sometimes starting with more of one of the strappier, like H style or Roman style harnesses can
mm-hmm.
be easier to train with in the beginning to
Mm,
get the ball rolling because it's not covering as much of your cat's body. It's not going to be as restrictive. They're not necessarily the most secure. I do think this
mm-hmm.
style is a very secure style of harness. So you might have to work up to this,
Yeah. Yeah.
start with the strappy, work up to the more higher coverage type of harness. I think harness training should be done indoors totally. And until your cat is 100% comfortable in their harness, you don't even want to try going outside because the outside, especially if your cat has never been outside before, there's a lot of triggers and stressors and things at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. And if your cat is also still struggling to be comfortable in the harness, it's just too
Too
many
much.
too many things.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely indoor harness training fully
Mm-hmm.
until you start going outside. As for backpacks and strollers, I do think they are valuable tools, but like you, I do not like those plastic bubble backpacks. They're too restrictive and confining. If you're going to use a backpack, make sure that it has a lot of mesh windows so that there's plenty of airflow so your cat's not going to get overheated. They can breathe and they're getting fresh air. Those bubble backpacks, I mean, that's like a sauna, you know?
Mm.
No fresh air, nothing. And you want it to be spacious too. The backpacks, though, I think are very helpful if you have backpack trained your cat. I mean, just like with everything, we have to train them to be comfortable with
Mm-hmm.
their backpack too. Just like with the harness, you can't just throw your cat in the backpack and be like, hey, we're going
Mm-hmm.
for an adventure. It's not going to go well.
Mm-mm.
But once your cat is comfortable with their backpack, then you can use it as a tool to introduce your cat to new situations and provide
Yeah.
them with a safe space. So, like with what I was saying about Kylo earlier on the hiking trail, I always have a backpack, and if
Mm-hmm.
something overwhelms him, a person walks by and maybe he's just not feeling it that day, I offer him his backpack. He knows his backpack is a safe space for him, and I can give him the choice if he wants to get inside, he can. And then
Yeah.
if he can choose whether or not he wants to come back out again. When I'm taking my cats maybe somewhere they've never been before, I find the backpack or stroller to be really great for that because they're already
Mm-hmm.
comfortable there. So it's like a little environment that I know they're comfortable in. I can
Mm-hmm.
take them to the new place, open the top of the backpack, and let them, maybe they want to poke their head out and see,
Mm, yeah.
what's going on here? Do
Look
I
around.
come out or not? And like you said, freedom of choice is so important. I don't want to force them to do anything because that's going to create negative experiences and negative
Mm-hmm.
associations, which are a
Mm-hmm.
lot harder to overcome.
So hard to fix.
Yeah. So I use the backpack to be like, hey, what do you think? Do you
Mm-hmm.
want to come out or not? And if they poke their head out, sniff around, and they're like, nope, and go back in, it's like, okay, no
Yeah.
problem. Here's
Yeah.
here's a treat. We're done. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Or they might
Yeah.
poke their head out and be like, I'm a little curious. I'm gonna come out and see what's up. But that
Yeah.
backpack is available for them at all times if
As a
they
safe
need it or
retreat.
want it. Yeah.
Yeah. The backpack we use is one that has a really sturdy frame so that it
Mhm.
doesn't like fold in on the cat.
Yes.
And it has openings on both sides, so we can start our initial training like a tunnel and just going through
Yes.
it. And so it feels, I think, less restrictive and closed in and is easier for them to do the training. We also intentionally picked one where you could put the straps on so that you're holding the backpack in front of your body instead of on
Mm,
your back, and then you can
yep.
observe your cat's body language and see if they're indicating curiosity or if they're towards the back. And if they lean forward, then you'd be like, "Oh, you want to explore," and you can walk with them. And if they lean backwards, you'd be like, "Oh, you want to go back?"
Yeah.
Some people might be concerned that their cat's going to like adventure so much that they'll start door dashing, like trying to escape whenever they open the door. What kind of tips can you give to people to prevent door dashing from becoming a problem?
Yeah, so that is something that can happen sometimes. And I think having a routine, some sort of cue that is like, this is what happens every time we go outside. I highly recommend doing place training, like train your cat to go to
Yeah,
a
a
designated
specific
spot.
station.
It could be
Mm-hmm.
a mat or a blanket or, something. And when you're going outside, creating the routine of you go to your spot, I put your harness on, and these are the steps that happen before we go outside.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
just happen willy-nilly whenever you want. And we all know that cats are such creatures of habit and schedule. Like we were talking before we started about lunchtime, and my
Yes.
cats know when their meal times are. They're usually asking for it at least an hour early every time, but they know when their meal times are. And so if you are able to take your cat out at like a regular time,
Hmm.
then your cat will learn, what that time is,
Yeah, so
and they'll
true.
be less likely to ask for it
Hmm.
at other times.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, it's my outdoor time. And they might even go to their spot unprompted,
Hmm.
and be like,
Hmm.
I'm ready. And you go through your routine and then you go outside. I think too, if your cat's regular adventure time comes and you're not able to go out at the time, you could provide them with an alternate activity as
Super
well.
smart. Yes.
Like, okay, so I'm not going to get out your station. We're not going to go through the outdoor routine, but here's a snuffle mat, here's a food
Mm,
puzzle, or how about we
smart.
have a little wand toy play session, or something else, so that way they're
Yeah.
getting some enrichment and some activity during that expected time. It might not
Hmm.
be exactly what they are used to it being necessarily, but something. So one of the questions that I get a lot from people is like, what's the best age to start training
Mm.
my cat? People think, oh, kittens, I need to start from a kitten. And sure, like we were saying earlier, like if you start early, and get them in that socialization window and are introducing them to the experiences really early, it helps and can definitely make things easier. But adult cats can be trained too.
Yes.
I've trained several of our cats, harness trained them as adults. And it's never too late. It might take longer and the training
Hmm.
process might look different, but it's still possible. So I don't want anyone to ever feel like, oh, well, my cat is 5, is 10 or
Mm.
whatever. It's too late. I can't do it. It's never too late to try. Um,
Hmm.
and I think from a personal experience, cats can change their minds too. So
Mm.
maybe
Hmm.
you tried when they were younger and they didn't like it, but as an older cat, you might want to try again. We had a cat, he's no longer with us. He passed away last year, but I tried harness training with him when he was a kitten. And he was comfortable wearing his harness, but he didn't like going outside. It
Mm.
was too scary. It stressed him out too much. So I let it go and just didn't push the issue with him. But then several years went by, and when he was 10 years old, he decided that he wanted to go outside.
Mm.
And I realized it because at that point we had two others who we took out pretty regularly. And so he would see Kylo and Griffin and stuff going outside. And I think it made him be like, well, I want to be a part of that. And so I tried. I put the harness on him, and he loved it. So he went from like not having any interest. 10 years down the road, he
Wow.
he started hiking with us, going out in the backyard, and I mean he loved it. And so for the last few
Mm.
years of his life, he enjoyed some really great outdoor time. And previously he wasn't into it. So
Wow.
I
That's
think
so cool.
yeah, so I just want to encourage people and say it's never too late, and cats can change their minds about things.
Definitely.
If you try it and your cat's not into it now, okay, well that's fine. Maybe a little ways down the road you try again and
Yeah.
maybe things will be different.
Yeah. That's really great reminder. So, last question is where can people find you and your content online?
Yeah, well my website is kittycatgo.com. And you can find all my things there. That's definitely the home base of everything. And I've got my YouTube channel as well, which is Kitty
Excellent.
Cat Go Adventures. Yeah.
Well, I will make sure to link that in the description, encourage people to go and check that out. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me this morning. This has been wonderful and so enjoyable.